Good evening from the newsroom. The news for this Friday, 16th of December. The National Assembly has approved legislation to set up a home care agency. The new agency is to take up the tasks of regulating home caring, which have up to now been carried out by the Agency for Social Protection. They include the registration of home carers, training for caregivers, and penalties for caregivers who neglect their duties, amongst other issues. The new legislation insists that caregivers will in no way be employed by the home care agency. It will be a contract between caregivers and the beneficiaries. However, the agency will facilitate the drafting of contracts which both parties will have to sign. The Court of Appeal closed its sessions for this morning, and during his remarks, the President of the Court of Appeals, Justice Anthony Fernando, read out the statistics for cases as of today. He said that the bench dealt with the majority of the cases filed. 26 criminal case appeals were disposed, leaving 7 to be disposed in April next year, and another for three for a later date. 77 civil appeals were disposed, 25 listed for next April, leaving 35 cases to be heard. There were 53 miscellaneous cases disposed, with 10 more remaining. Justice Fernando also reminded the lawyers that they are to correctly serve their clients whilst representing them before the Court of Appeals. 9 new soldiers have sworn in with the Seychelles Defence Forces today. The new recruits received their certificates and represented with the national flag during a ceremony at the Seychelles Coast Guard. They are part of a group of 24 youngsters who started training back in September. It is the second group of recruits for this year. As is customary, the 9 new soldiers will serve either in the Air Force, the military, or the Coast Guard. Strengthening cultural cooperation between Seychelles and Rodrigue Island was the principal discussion during a courtesy visit by Rodrigue's Commissioner for Arts and Culture, Joseph Ravina, on the Secretary General for the National Institute of Culture, Heritage and the Arts, David André. His 4-day visit to Seychelles at the invitation of Mr. André coincides with the first anniversary of the inscription of Moutia on UNESCO's list for intangible cultural heritage. Mr. Ravina was accompanied by the head of Department for Arts and Culture in Rodrigue, Jean-Paul Collin. The 3-day mega Christmas affair organized by Entertainment Zilwa is ongoing at the NSC Hall at Roche-Cayman. The director of Entertainment Zilwa, Alain Bako, says that the bad weather will not affect their plans and most of the activities will take place as scheduled. Members of the public will be able to buy locally made products, electronic items, jewelry, beauty products, toys, and many more. There will also be a magic show, country and western song contest, and sale of lottery tickets for a Jeep as first prize. Football fans will also be able to watch the World Cup final on a big screen at the NSC Hall on Sunday. During the last day of the second US-Africa Summit, African countries have requested US support for 6 key priorities in the coming years. They range from the fight against terrorism, development of infrastructure, to Africa's representation in various international organizations, including the United Nations Security Council and G20. President Joe Biden has agreed to help reform organizations like the United Nations so that it reflects the geopolitical landscape of the 21st century. He reiterated during his speech on the implementation of Africa's Agenda 2063 that when Africa wins, everybody wins. President Wavel Ramkalawan says that he is satisfied at the level of commitment given by the United States for various challenges facing the African continent. He, however, highlighted that island nations are sometimes forgotten when discussing the needs of Africa, and that should be addressed when the US lays out its plans to implement its promises for a new partnership. And with this, we come to the end of the news. Thank you for watching. We'll be back at 8 with the news in Creole.